right, let me just make sure the feed is working here. Huge announcement. Trump is going to be suing Facebook and Twitter, make an announcement in about 13 minutes. So I have the OAN broadcast pulled up for you guys. Let me just see why it's doing this. Why it's not playing here. Let's see something. Come on. Why are we getting a black screen? Alright, hold on one sec, guys. Gotta get this feed up for you guys. So in 13 minutes, Trump's gonna be announcing he's suing Facebook and Twitter, and I have OAN. You could actually go to cloudtv.com, and they're actually, I was going to do for $2.50 a month, I was going to subscribe for the OAN coverage. However, because of COVID, they're actually offering it for free. So you could even go to cloudtv.com and just create a username and log in, and you can get OAN for free as well. So let's just fix this screen here. Let me see if I have my advanced system, hardware acceleration's off. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right, so let's do this. All right. Let's go back to OAN for a sec. I have to figure out why the
freedom to express your point of view. If you're tired of the social media giants chipping away at our most basic and important right to freedom of speech, shadow banning, censoring, and policing every single post, then freetalk45.com is just what you've been looking for. freetalk45.com. Freedom of speech online.
The takeaway is that no one is untouchable to abuse. Bottom line. So if you're paying attention now because it's Britney Spears, that's wonderful, because you know what? You should pay attention to what's going on in your home. You should pay attention to what's going on in your neighborhood. 1 in 3 women that have been raped or molested before the age of 10. 1 in 4 with young men before the age of 10. It's a serious issue. The entertainment industry, I think, in my humble opinion, there are good people that are in the industry, but slowly they're getting fed up and they're coming forward. And that's why I'm really proud of her, because she's a big name that's finally speaking out about the abuse. I spoke about it, Rose McGowan spoke about it, there are others that have spoken about it, and I think we're only going to hear more from here.
Let's hope so. Kaya, final question to you. I know that God plays a very important role in your life. You've been very vocal about it. If you had a message to young women or just young people getting into the entertainment industry, whether it's music, film, television, and their parents who are getting them in, like Britney's folks did when she was just a kid, what would your message be?
Yeah. My message would be to keep in prayer, to focus on greater is he that is within you than he that is within the world. You'll make better decisions. Do not leave your children with people that you don't know. If you're going to be a momager, be a proper momager and know what's going on. But it can happen, and it happened to Britney. She had her family involved, and this is where she's at. So, I'm a firm believer that when the heart changes, the head and everything changes. And that's why I talk about God all the time. God is a very important point. Yeah. So I just think focus on the Lord. If you can go and sing for him, right out the gate, if I could go back, I would go back and do that. I would never have started in the pop world.
All right, let me.
Right away with business.
Oh, good for you.
All right, so let's. We got President Trump about to make an announcement in 4 minutes. Let's see if you're watching. Smash the like, share on your social media so we can get some traction, so we can get some viewers here, because none of the media is going to be covering this. This is a huge announcement, and it's only being covered apparently on OANN. We gotta spread this as much as possible. We gotta get this out there as much as possible. So if you're watching the stream, share it, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. It definitely helps the algorithm, and we are all set in about 3 minutes for President Trump's live address. We'll talk about a couple other things in the meantime. So let's just go to our Discord here. Pop Bob says he's got a few documents he would like to show everyone. Let's see. News release. Senator Doug Mastriano op-ed. I am initiating a forensic investigation of the 2020 general election and the 2021 primary. A forensic investigation of our election results and process for the 2020 general election and the 2020 primary will go a long way to restore trust in our system. Voting is the fundamental right of all citizens. We should continually look for ways to improve the voting process to ensure every voice is heard. Let me just make sure my mic's not muted. Okay. All right. Today, as the chair of Intergovernmental Operations Committee, I issued letters to several counties requesting information and materials needed to conduct a forensic investigation of the 2020 general election and the 2021 primary. We have asked these counties to respond by July 31st with a plan to comply. The counties represent different geographical regions of Pennsylvania and differing political makeups. Some are Republican, and while others are Democrat, which means that this will be a balanced investigation. The Intergovernmental Operations Committee is a standing committee of the Pennsylvania State Senate with... Alright, so this guy's taking action in Pennsylvania now for a forensic audit basically, is the gist of this letter here. Okay? So we got about 2 minutes. We got President Trump set to make a huge announcement in 2 minutes, and that will be regarding why is our screen back giving us a hard time again? All right, let's turn OAN back on.
Tonight, I got to say something. I wanted to remind everybody out there that I'm producing a brand new show here at One America News called Hungry Heroes. It's a kind of reality travel/food show where I'm going to be traveling around the country, eating my way from town to town, profiling those brave men and women who serve their fellow man. I'm happy to announce that we are just beginning production of our first episode, and this weekend I'll be traveling to the Mojave Desert to hang out with the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Team at the Marine Corps' Air and Ground Combat Base in 29 Palms. Pretty much it's the bomb guys, right? We're going to eat some great food along the way, probably blow some stuff up, and then we're going to chat with these Marines and find out what fuels their minds, bodies, and souls. The first episode of Hungry Heroes will be airing sometime next month in July. Keep watching right here on Real America, and I'll be sure to let you know what that date is. In the meantime, if you'd like to learn more about the show, you can always email me at realamerica@oann.com. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And again, if you want to get a hold of me, put the info up on the screen. If we could, guys, there it is. Take a break, as I always say on Fridays. Laugh, love, live, hang out with family and friends. Give politics a break, at least for 48 hours. And we'll see you Monday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Until then, be proud, be safe, and God bless.
Good evening and welcome to The Real Story. Tonight, our hearts and prayers continue with the incredible people of Surfside, Florida. As the psalmist wrote,
okay,
and so, as
this isn't live. Why is this?
As the psalmist wrote, the Lord is near to the brokenhearted.
What the hell, OAN? Why is this not live? Is this like OAN plus not live and not a live feed? Like, I don't get it. Trump was supposed to be making an announcement right now. Come on, man. You gotta be kidding me. No, they don't even have it on their YouTube channel. Oh, what a pain in the ass. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is the problem. We're trying to get
has risen to 46 after they found 10 more bodies inside the site of the search.
Yeah, hold on. I'm just putting on Newsmax now because OAN is giving me a hard time.
Yeah, I'm on that website that I always send. Was it USTV247.tv, and they got One American News, and it looks like this is live.
As days goes by,
Wait, on Cloud TV?
No, I got Cloud TV too, but just go to your browser and type this in, USTV.
USTV.
Yep, 24/7.
Was inside of
.tv.
a collapsed building, and she was found alive 17 days after.
And then go there and then pick OANN.
Of search and rescue operations. And I want to let you know that yesterday I got a first look at the scene because this was the first time that the media was...
Committee notes this is the most ever brought in during an off-election year. This also marks a total of nearly $11 million raised so far this year. This after reports last month say the National Republican Congressional Committee says it raised more than $14 million in May, marking another record-breaking month. One of the Pennsylvania State Senate committees formally announces that it will be conducting a forensic investigation into the 2020 election. Senator Doug Mastriano chairs that committee and gives the details to One America's Christina Bobb.
Senator Doug Mastriano from Pennsylvania. I hear there's a lot of talk about election audits or election efforts to audit results in Pennsylvania. What is the latest and what is happening?
At long last, I'm proud to
announce mute your mic, man. I think you got a
process for a forensic investigation into the 2020 and also the 2021 election we had in May. The first round, we're looking at 3 counties, and if sufficient evidence comes up of shenanigans and corruption or fraud, then we'll have a second round with additional counties. The letter went out this morning to notify the counties that we're looking at. It includes Philadelphia County, which obviously is heavily Democrat county, and 2 Republican counties. There's nothing partisan about this. And people who are going to screaming and hollering, late, I'm sure, and gnashing of teeth and pulling out of hair, which I wouldn't understand actually. But what do you got to hide? This is just an honest look at 1 Democrat county, 2 Republican, York County and Tioga County. So we're looking at the stretch geographically and also the breadth from a political perspective.
So I was going to ask you about that. Specifically, what are you looking for and what is this going to look into?
So specifically, it's much of what we saw in Arizona, which really set the standard on a forensic analysis. And this is a true professional way to look at an election. And there's no fraud. It takes the person out of it. The way the CNN framed it, absolutely ridiculous and shameful on them. It's not a fraud. It was a forensic audit there. Here we have to call it a forensic investigation because that's the verbiage I have for my committee. We're going to look at the ballots as Arizona does to see if it was filled in by a human or by a machine, copied.
Hey, boss, turn this off. It's actually on
the machines to see if anything was flipped, if they were online during the election, and all these other requirements that are so basic.
Go to Newsmax.
And the scientific approach to this whole thing here, I love what I saw in Arizona because it really takes out.
I got a URL. I'll put it.
My most important title, though, isn't any of those. Whatever my role, I am an American first. A wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, a neighbor, an entrepreneur, with everything that being an American means. It is that imperative of citizenship that brings us here today. The post-presidency is usually a relaxing time for a president. You get to settle down a bit, write your memoirs, maybe sign a Netflix deal. That's what most presidents do, but of course, what most presidents do has never described Donald J. Trump. People who love Donald Trump and people who don't all agree on one thing. He makes history, and he's making history again today, as you'll hear from him shortly. But the president would agree with me when I say that focusing on him today misses the point. Back during his presidency, I remember him saying more than once that in reality, they're not really after me. They're after you and the America we know and love, and I am just standing in the way. There's no topic on which they, the elites, the big firms, the progressives, the office holders, and the bureaucrats, there is no other topic that they are seeing as a bigger obstacle to achieve their ambitions than the First Amendment. The First Amendment, the bulwark of our liberties, is what enables us as citizens to resist them at every turn. The First Amendment truly stands between them and us. When they try to tell us what to read, the First Amendment gets in their way. When they try to tell us what to think, the First Amendment gets in their way. When they try to tell us what to believe, the First Amendment gets in their way. And when they try to tell us with whom to worship, with whom to associate, with whom to congregate, and with whom to be friends, the First Amendment gets in their way. It's no surprise then that they want the First Amendment gone. They don't advocate for abolition, of course. They know better than that. But they do advocate for curtailing it into meaninglessness. Nowhere is that more evident than in the suppression of First Amendment rights online. In just a minute, the president will talk about this and what he intends to do about it. It's enough for me to say this. What was just a decade back a mere fiction of paranoid dystopia, a handful of technology companies effectively seizing control of the American public square, is now our own present reality. Against them, this president fights for you, as he always has and as he always will. Ultimately, the issue at hand is the same issue that has gripped the nation since the day almost exactly 6 years ago when Donald Trump made his famous escalator ride into history, becoming candidate Trump and then nominee Trump and then President Trump. The issue is simply this. It was then, it is today. Who rules in America? Is it a handful of unaccountable and unelected elites who concoct and enforce standards arbitrarily? If so, we should pack up the American experiment, call the American dream done, issue aristocratic titles, and be done with the charade. Or are the rulers of this country still the people? The democratic citizenry, the men and women who do honest work every single day and ask only for a fair and equitable treatment in return. We need that answer. This country just finished an Independence Day celebration where we talked about and celebrated everything we have been and everything we have meant as a country. For the sake of future Independence Days, for the sake of future American generations, we must fight for the people's rule. That's what Donald Trump is here to do, and that's what he's always done. Please help me welcome President Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much, Brooke. I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. I just want to say that I stand before you this morning to announce a very important and very beautiful, I think, development for our freedom and our freedom of speech, and that goes to all Americans. Today, in conjunction with the America First Policy Institute, I'm filing as the lead class representative a major class action lawsuit against the big tech giants, including Facebook, Google, and Twitter, as well as their CEOs, Mark Zuckerberg, Sundar Pichai, and Jack Dorsey. Three real nice guys. We're asking the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida to order an immediate halt to social media companies' illegal, shameful censorship of the American people, and that's exactly what they are doing. We're demanding an end to the shadow banning a stop to the silencing and a stop to the blacklisting, banishing, and canceling that you know so well. Our case will prove this censorship is unlawful, it's unconstitutional, and it's completely un-American. We all know that. We all know that very, very well. Our filing also seeks injunctive relief to allow prompt restitution and really restoration, and you can name about 20 other things, and it has to be prompt because it's destroying our country. Of my accounts, in addition, we are asking the court to impose punitive damages on these social media giants. We're going to hold big tech very accountable. This is the first of numerous other lawsuits, I assume, that would follow, but this is the lead, and I think it's going to be a very, very important game changer for our country. It will be a pivotal battle in the defense of the First Amendment, and in the end, I am confident that we will achieve a historic victory for American freedom and, at the same time, freedom of speech. So I want to thank all of the exceptional legal team behind this effort. In particular, John Cole. We have a lot of the tobacco lawyers. You know, I said, who are the best lawyers? Well, the tobacco lawyers seem to do a very good job, so I figured let's see if they want to do it, and they really wanted to do it. We have great, great talent. I also want to thank Brooke Rollins, just an outstanding person and friend. She's carrying it out to a level that nobody saw, and she's done it very quickly, together with Linda McMahon, a tremendously successful woman who did an incredible job in the administration, one of the best, and everyone at the America First Policy Institute for their support of this vital initiative. From the very beginning of our nation, freedom of speech has always been understood as a bedrock of our liberty and our strength. In America, we recognize that the freedom to speak our minds and express the truth that is our heart, really, that's really a big chunk of our heart. It is our heart. Is not granted to us by government. It's given to us by God, and no one should have the power to take that right away. The Founding Fathers inscribed this right in the very First Amendment to our Constitution because they knew that free speech is essential to the prevention of horror and to the preservation of our republic. But remember the words, the prevention of horror, because we're very close to seeing that now in our country. We've never been in a position like this, and it's all happened very quickly. In the words of the father of our country, although some would like to take that title away from him, George Washington, he will not be canceled. If freedom of speech may be taken away, then dumb and silent, we may be led like sheep to the slaughter. Pretty well-known phrase, and so true. Unfortunately, today, this fundamental American right and liberty is under incredible threat and attack by a lot of different sides. But we are the majority side by a lot. I believe we are the majority side by far more than anybody would understand. You just have to take a look at what happened in recent elections and add up the right numbers. You will see a majority like you wouldn't believe, because nobody can believe what some of the things that are being said are. Nobody believes that. Social media has given extraordinary power to a group of big tech giants that are working with government, the mainstream media, and a large segment of a political party to silence and suppress the views of the American people. And they've been very, very successful at that. Not in all cases, but in many cases, totally successful. While the social media companies are officially private entities, in recent years they have ceased to be private with the enactment and their historical use of Section 230, which profoundly protects them from liability. Once they got Section 230, they're not private companies anymore in a lot of views. No other companies in our country, and even in our country's history, have had protection like this. It's, in effect, a massive government subsidy. These companies have been co-opted, coerced, and weaponized by government and by government actors to become the enforcers of illegal, unconstitutional censorship. And that's what it is at the highest level, censorship, and so many other things that perhaps are even worse. And you'll be seeing that in this lawsuit as it wells its way through the courts. We have all seen Democrats in Congress haul the CEOs of these companies before their committees and attempt to threaten them, bully them, and intimidate them like nobody has been intimidated. But they made a deal. They all get along very nicely now. Thank you very much. Congress has repeatedly told big tech that if they do not silence Democrats' political opponents, ban prominent conservative voices, I wonder who that would be, and restrict what the left ominously labels as disinformation, and they are the greatest disinformation group of people ever in the world. As an example, just recently, now they're saying, we never said defund the police, we want to fund the police. They looked at poll numbers at 85% against them. No, we want to take care of the police. No, they don't. They wanted to fund the police. And they'll say it thousands and thousands and thousands of times. And by the end of 12 months, you'll all be saying, oh, they love the police. They don't love the police. They actually hate the police for whatever reason. And it's just a terrible thing. And so many other things. They're changing their views on so many other things. And they just say the opposite. They don't even go to anything. They just all in unison. A lot of the people sitting right before me understand exactly what I'm saying. They say it right before you, that we want to do this, we want to do that. It's the exact opposite of what they've been saying. Or, probably the most famous of all, Russia, Russia, Russia. Trump loves Russia. He loves Russia. He loves Putin. He loves Russia. And that went on for 2 years, and some people believed it. But we are going to look so closely, and we're going to make sure that the liability protections that they have under Section 230 is at a very minimum changed and maybe at a maximum taken away. The Supreme Court has made it exceedingly clear that Congress is not allowed to coerce private entities into doing what Congress does, and they're not allowed to do it. The lawful authority is just not there. They can't do it. They bully and they coerce. Yet that's exactly what's taking place every single day. It's a flagrant violation of the Constitution going on before our very eyes. And I hate to say this, but they do it with the Supreme Court, too. They play the refs. They play the refs. They talk about all sorts of things they're going to do to Supreme Court justices. We're going to impeach him. We're going to impeach him. We're going to impeach him. And then, lo and behold, all of a sudden, different decisions come out. Or we're going to enlarge that court to a level that nobody can believe. We are going to take that court and we're going to enlarge it. We're going to have 16. We're going to have 20. I saw one the other day. We're going to have 24 justices. And I guess things happen because all of a sudden decisions come out. They play the ref. They play the ref better than Bobby Knight has ever played the ref. And we can't let that happen. And hopefully our Supreme Court justices and other judges and justices, they stand up for our values. And they don't let that happen. In addition, in recent years, we have also seen increasing coordination between big tech giants and government agencies such as the Centers for Disease Control, where so much was wrong, so many things could have been different, but big tech happened to choose the wrong side, and they banned the right side. For example, YouTube's policy explicitly forbids contradicting, quote, health authorities. You know the health authorities. Fortunately, I overrode the health authorities quite a bit. That was a lot of good decisions made. If I didn't, we would have been in much bigger trouble, like you see other countries right now are still in very, very big trouble. Through such coordination, the federal government has essentially deputized social media platforms to become the de facto censorship arm of the U.S. government, which is exactly what's happened. This was especially clear during the pandemic when social media giants began censoring information according to guidance by the CDC, which, as we now know, was very often incorrect or wrong. This censorship is yet another blatant violation of the Constitution. There's so many violations of our Constitution, and you'll see that in the suit, which will also be added to, because other things are happening on a daily basis that will be added as we go along. Consider just some of the information that has been censored in America over the past year. Until recently, Facebook had a policy to eliminate all posts sharing evidence that the horrible virus emerged from China. They said it didn't emerge from the Chinese lab, Wuhan. Remember, I said Wuhan, and it was like a bomb went up. Wuhan came from the Wuhan lab. Of course, there were body bags all outside the lab. Nobody ever mentions that. I wonder why. They said it came 1,000 miles away from a bat, or it came from another country. They tried to blame Italy. They tried to blame us. But they gave that one up. That was also misinformation. But then it was finally revealed that this was most likely the truth, that it came from the lab. And it was a small little story, but when I said it, it was like a weapon went off, a major weapon. I won't use the word weapon, because I never use the word nuclear, but we have to be careful with our leadership, because if we don't have the proper leadership, we're in a very perilous state. So we don't use the word nuclear. I never use it, okay? Never use it. I never said it. That's called disinformation. Google and YouTube have deleted countless videos that dared to question the judgment of the World Health Organization, which has been wrong so often. It's been a really pipe organ for China, as most of you know, calling those videos misinformation, including videos that consist of clear scientific fact. Doctors and medical groups have been barred from these platforms for posting about therapeutics such as hydroxychloroquine. That's a familiar name. Which now, most recent studies say, is effective in combating the virus. 3 cents a pill. The drug companies don't like 3 cents a pill. 3 cents a pill is what it costs. But recent studies have come out very strongly in favor. Twitter has censored users simply for using the term illegal alien, which it has labeled as hateful content, and just taken you off for whatever reason. You have to see the sentence they took me off for. It's the most loving sentence. It's really amazing. They could have done better, because I've had a lot worse. I mean, I couldn't believe that was the reason. Take a look at it. You know exactly the sentence I'm talking about. It's become very famous. People are saying, really? Even the other side said, really? And of course, there is no better evidence that big tech is out of control than the fact that they banned the sitting president of the United States earlier this year, a ban that continues to this day, continues. So we get the word out, but it's not a fair situation. Very, very bad for this country, very bad for the world. If they can do it to me, they can do it to anyone. And in fact, that is exactly what they're doing. They're taking people off who don't even realize they were taken off. They have no idea why they were taken off. But what they're doing is incredible and incredibly dangerous. Joining us this morning are just a few of the many Americans who have been illegally banned or silenced under the corrupt regime of censorship. These brave patriots are included in the lawsuit, and thousands more are joining as we speak. Thousands more. They're all wanting to join. This will be, I think, will go down as the biggest class action ever filed, because thousands of people want to join. Jen Horton is a school teacher from Fenton, Michigan. Earlier this year, she was kicked off Facebook for sharing a post questioning whether young children should be required to wear masks. She had a question, giving both sides, and actually not negative, just giving both sides. That was enough. At the same time, as Jen was deplatformed, her brother had gone missing, and she was unable to get the word out to all of her followers. She had a lot of followers, could not get the word out. And Jen, I want to thank you very much for being here and stepping forward. Takes a lot of courage. Would you like to come up and say something, Jen? Where's Jen? Jen, please. Thank you.
I just appreciate the opportunity to be here with all of these amazing patriots, and I thank you, President Trump, for everything you're doing for us.
Thank you, Jen, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jen. Dr. Kelly Victory, I love that name. I would have gone with that name if I had the choice. Is a board-certified trauma and emergency specialist from Colorado, great person, who was asked by the pastor of a church to prepare a video about how to mitigate risks of the China virus to allow church services to safely resume. Just a question. Could you give us some information? The video was outrageously removed from Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, with horrible statements being made by them. Kelly, thank you for your bravery. Please say a few words. Thank you. Facebook delayed the flight. The flight's delayed by 4 hours. I wonder. I can't believe that. That's terrible. What they will do. All right. Thank you anywhere. Here he is landing, going into Europe, going into Newark. Kelly Kejuan and Bobby Michael are angel parents. Their precious son, Brandon, was killed at just 21 years of age by a twice deported and very violent illegal alien. He caused a very fatal collision. Something should have never happened. Since then, they have heroically launched their own deeply personal fight to draw attention to the dangers of illegal immigration. They helped push through Florida's ban on deadly sanctuary cities, and they are indeed deadly. And they continue to be strong advocates for border security and immigration enforcement. But they have been cruelly and unfairly banned from Twitter. Would you like to say a few words? Where are you? Would you please?
Thank you, Mr. President. The fight for censorship must continue. We are in this. We will not allow our nation to be silenced. We stand together, and we thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I see somebody running for office very soon. That was great. Well, I want to thank you very much. It's really terrific. So we're in a fight. We're in a fight that we're going to win. We're in a fight that people want us to take on. So many people have said to me, please, sir, do something about big tech. Sue them, sir, sue them. And they've been saying it to me for a long time, but there has never been a better time to do it. Polling released by Scott Rasmussen, highly respected, shows that nearly 2/3 of Americans believe big tech companies should be required to abide by the First Amendment guarantee of free speech. And I think those numbers are low, very low. 68% of Americans believe social media companies should prioritize their fair treatment of every citizen over protecting themselves. They want people protected. They want people to have their voice. And an overwhelming majority believe that tech giants have become too powerful. They've crossed the line many, many times, and by far too much. The American people's birthright of freedom must prevail against big tech and other forces that seek to destroy it. Through this lawsuit, we are standing up for American democracy by standing up for free speech rights of every American, Democrat, Republican, independent, whoever it may be. This lawsuit is just the beginning. It's a very big suit with great lawyers. I'll let you know about that in about a year from now. Maybe I'll change my mind, but I don't think so. They've had a tremendous track record in doing good. We'll also take this battle to the state legislatures, to Congress, and ultimately to the ballot box, and it will be a very popular one at the ballot box. I will never stop fighting to defend constitutional rights and sacred liberties of the American people. I will never stop. I will now ask John Cole and Pam Bondi, two terrific people that love our country so much, to step forward and discuss the suit, and then we'll take a few questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Hello. He's taller than me. This suit is really about freedom of speech. And what it is, it's basic that freedom of speech depends on certain things. One is who decides what's hate, who decides what's misinformation. It's not a couple guys out in California. It's always been the Supreme Court for over 200 years, and I would say they've done a heck of a job. We're taking this suit. We're going to prove that they are government actors. Therefore, the First Amendment does apply. And we think we will be victorious on that. We think that we're in the right area, which is southern Florida. And you have to understand that we can't let this happen. Because, you know, for all you out there who are Democrats and liberals or whatever you are, you're next. Now it's the conservatives, but as history shows us, it will turn maybe 5 years from now, maybe 3 months from now, maybe 10 years, but you're next. So I would urge people from the other side of President Trump's political party to join us, because you can't have this going on. And one last thing. The most hated thing by all the Supreme Courts over all the years is called prior restraint. That means that you can't speak. Pentagon Papers is the famous case. You can't do this because we say so. So the Supreme Court hates this. They think it's the worst kind of censorship we have. And when this gentleman cannot go on and say what he wants to say, that's prior restraint every minute of every day until this thing gets resolved. Thank you.
And I'm here not as part of that great legal team over there, but I'm very proud to be part of America First Policy constitutional litigation team. So I was here just to explain just a few things. And you know what John said, this is about our Constitution. This isn't just for conservatives. This is for our media. This is for everyone out there about censorship. This is for Democrats and even progressives whose speech should be protected under the First Amendment. If you recall, Tulsi Gabbard, she sued. Do you remember that? Tulsi Gabbard was censored when she was running for president, and so she sued. And you know, people say that they have immunity, they meaning YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, under Section 230. Well, here's where that's changed. Section 230 came about in 1996, and it was an offshoot of the Decency Act to protect against children being exploited online. That's what this was all about. So take it back to 96. How many users were there then? Probably about 20 million on AOL, right, President? 1996. Now, what do we have? Facebook, Twitter, we have billions worldwide. So times have changed. The internet is flourishing, but First Amendment still must be protected. No one could envision what was about to happen with the internet in our country now, with billions of users worldwide. So that's why this is so important. And when you have Mark Zuckerberg and others being called in front of Congress and being coerced and being questioned by all these congressmen, then you also have Mark Zuckerberg emailing with Dr. Fauci about COVID, and in fact, a lot of their emails that we received have been redacted, not just because of phone numbers, but because they were trading trade secrets, things that they were, so a private company is communicating with the federal government, and parts of that were redacted. So that makes them, they're not immune anymore. They are not immune anymore. It was coercion, collusion, working together, and they cannot hide from the First Amendment. That's why this is so very, very important. Even Facebook's oversight board that Mark Zuckerberg created, the oversight board came back and said there were problems, and it lacked consistently being applied to everyone by community standards. So that's why this is so important for us, for our future, for all political parties, for all human beings around the world. We believe in the First Amendment, and America First policy will fight for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, a lot of people ask me about Dr. Fauci. I like Dr. Fauci. I actually get along with him great. But they said, why didn't you fire him? I said, no, he was good. He'd recommend something. I'd do the opposite, and we always turned out to be right. Sir, don't close the borders to China. We closed them very early. Get no credit for anything, but these are minor details. Any questions, Christina? Yes.
Thank you very much.
Well, I chose you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, sir. So what is the possibility of a settlement prior to trial? Because obviously any court ruling in your favor, and you've laid out a very compelling case, anything prior to a court ruling would certainly limit everybody else who's not in the class.
We're not looking for a settlement. We don't expect a settlement. They fight, and they fight hard. They've never had anything like this, and they've never had a team of very attractive-looking people in every way. Look at that. That's quite a legal team. That's like from a picture. But they are a very effective, much more importantly, legal team. So we're not looking to settle. We don't know what's going to happen, but we're not looking to settle. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
President. So we were talking about privately held companies that have been censoring. What's your position on public broadcasting, NPR, who also seem to be filling the same kind of role for a certain
It's such a great question. They are terrible. They are terrible. And it's not only what they say, it's what they don't say. For instance, I was informed that there are record numbers of murders took place this weekend. Record numbers. They don't even talk about it on NBC and CBS and ABC and NPR. They don't talk about it, and it's a big story. That's why the credibility of the mainstream media is the lowest it's ever been. Lowest it's ever been. And you know, I hate to take credit for this, but I'm very proud of the fact that I exposed them for what they are. They are terrible, terrible representatives of our country. They don't talk about crime. They don't talk about Chicago, where you had 260 people shot this weekend. That's in Afghanistan. You know, we didn't lose one soldier in the last more than a year. And I will say that was largely because of me, but I won't take credit. But the good news is I will never be given credit either. But we haven't lost a soldier. Think of it, 260 people shot in Chicago. Massive numbers of people shot in New York. And they don't prosecute these people. These are killers. They don't prosecute these people. They have no prosecute. They only go after Republicans. It's a terrible thing that's happening in our country, and a very dangerous thing, and a very good question. Please, Rob.
How you doing? How do you fight the argument that these are private companies? They can be as liberal as they want to be.
Well, they say that they're private, but they're no longer private. If they gave up their Section 230 liability protection, I would go along with them. I'd say they're private. We'll open up other privates, and other privates will be opened up. I mean, I know that for a fact because I'm involved in that. But I will say that they have Section 230. It's a liability protection, the likes of which nobody in the history of our country has ever received, just a small group. And we're not going to stand for it. And that makes them, in my opinion, very subject to the kind of penalties that we're talking about, which is potentially, John, trillions of dollars. It's a number that the likes of which nobody's seen before. John, you might want to address that.
The Supreme Court over the years, especially recently, has been very clear what you can and can't do as a private company. And they've done it all. There's mainly three reasons. The president has talked about the immunity. There's also the coercion by the Congress, congressmen, congresswomen in the media and in testimony and in their tweets. And there's also the fact that this law, when this law was passed, Zuckerberg was in middle school, okay? It has served its purpose. Now it has grown into this monster that Congress never intended. And the real bottom line is Congress cannot delegate what it can't do itself. And that's what they've done.
And, you know, we were talking earlier about when 230 was created in 1996, and really I believe one of the main reasons was something we all care deeply about, but as a former Attorney General, getting the sex predators off instantly. Yet today, there are still, Ms. May have come out during the congressional testimony, but there were over 16 million reports still of sex predators, of sex exploitation of children online, 45 million photos and videos that are allegedly still out there. That's what they need to be focusing on.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think the timing of this is perfect, especially going to the midterms and looking ahead to 2024. Can you share your thoughts on the timing of it and how this decision can help protect conservative viewpoints as we move further to 2024 elections?
The timing just seemed to be right because they've been so abusive, so bad, what they've done, not only to the President of the United States, but to so many others. Hamas has a site. The greatest killers in the world have a site. They're never reprimanded. They're never red flagged. Nothing ever happens. The president, and you, again, get the quote. You won't believe it. But these people call for the destruction of Israel, the destruction of the USA. Nothing happens to them. And I just think it's become so flagrant and so outrageous and outrageously ridiculous that this was a good time. Not having to do with the elections. I think this will go on beyond the elections. I would be surprised if it didn't. But I think it's a very important thing for our nation. Very, very important. Yeah, please, go ahead, please.
Just to clarify, who should be the arbiter of what's hate, what's offensive, what should not be published, what goes beyond free speech? And because so much of this, your banning has to do with comments you made around January 6th, just to clarify further, what did you do to stop the insurrection, as some people call it, and why were you not able to stop it?
So that whole event, unfortunate event, just went through Congress and a report was issued and my name wasn't even mentioned. And I appreciate that. I was surprised, frankly, because I would have assumed that they would have come up with their typically biased, at least on the Democrat side, statement. The report came out, as you saw, 2 weeks ago. My name wasn't even mentioned. That was an unfortunate event. I say, though, however, people are being treated unbelievably unfairly. When you look at people in prison and nothing happens to Antifa, and they burned down cities and killed people. There were no guns in the Capitol. They burned, except for the gun that shot Ashley Babbitt. and nobody knows who that men were. If that were the opposite way, that man would be all over. He would be the most well-known, and I believe, I can say man, because I believe I know exactly who it is, but he would be the most well-known person in this country, in the world. But the person that shot Ashley Babbitt, boom, right through the head, just boom. There was no reason for that. And why isn't that person being opened up, and why isn't that being studied? They've already written it off. They said, that case is closed. If that were the opposite, that case would be going on for years and years, and it would not be pretty. So I just thought this was a very important time. Yeah, please, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Twitter, if you're successful in this, and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all the social media platforms let you back on and let everyone else back on uninhibited the way that everyone's supposed to have access, would you use their platforms again?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I might not. You know, I'm in a different position because if I put out a press release, you know, I'm getting extremely good pickup. But that's me. The world, everybody that's getting banned they can't put out a press release. People would say, who the hell is that? Nobody's going to pick it up. And even myself, I could instantaneously get the word out. If somebody says a lie, like the fake media, I can at least give the opposing side, which I've been doing for 6 years. I used to get great publicity before I ran for office, okay? I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years where I can get a word out, an opposing word. Today, you can't do that. They took away the rights of, in my opinion, the majority. I really believe it's the majority because people aren't for all of these things. Now they have voter ID. That's another one when you talk about voter ID. All of a sudden, they love voter ID. They fought it vehemently. I noticed 2 days ago, I watched a congressman, happened to be from South Carolina, say, no, I've always been in favor of voter ID. Well, he hasn't because you look at his statement for the last 2 years. He's been vehemently opposed. But now they lie like nobody has ever lied. I watched him say, I've always believed in voter ID, essentially. And I said, that's unbelievable. Fortunately, the particular newscast had his statements from before, of which they were too numerous to put up, but they put up enough of them. But the Democrats are now saying, because they saw it was an 88% positive issue, they're now saying, we believe in voter ID. We have to have voter ID. There isn't one Democrat in the country that said that. And in a year from now, the fake news will say they've always been on this side. It's amazing. If you say it long enough, hard enough, often enough, people will start to believe it. That's what happened with Russia. That's what happened with Ukraine. That's what happened with, well, the worst is when they don't say it, like the laptop from hell. They didn't want to, you look at that thing, there is more criminal activity on that laptop than Al Capone had, if he ever had a laptop. Would like to give Al Capone one, but he was a baby compared to what I was able to see. Brooke, would you like to say a few more words? Yeah.
Question, how can somebody join the lawsuit?
That's a good question. Brooke, please.
That you can join the lawsuit by going to takeonbigtech.com. I did not plant that question, but I very much appreciate it. Takeonbigtech.com, and we really are looking for the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Americans. And let me just say one quick thing. It was a great question about the political ramifications of this lawsuit versus 2 years or 4 years. And certainly it will be part of the national narrative, I think, moving forward for the next couple of years. But this effort really is about the battle for the future of this country. And when we lose the opportunity to be part of a public discourse, whether as conservatives, as Republicans, as libertarians, as fighting against critical race theory, as questioning masks and whether our 11, 13, 15, and 16-year-olds, my children, should be forced to wear a mask all day, whether we're questioning illegal immigration and how to use that, that's crazy, and it's not okay, and this is not America, and it is not the America that I know we all want for our children and our future grandchildren, and that's what this lawsuit is about. We have the best legal team in the country. The America First Policy Institute is partnering with them to ensure that the word gets out, that we can truly, truly give our Americans who have been censored, who have been compromised, who have been told that they don't have a voice. That will no longer be the case. So thank you. Thank you all.
Wait, I want to make one thing gentleman asked who would decide what's hate speech, who would decide this thing. For 200 years, over 200 years, it's been the Supreme Court. We can't let it be in the hands of unelected people or unappointed justices, but they have done such a good job for 200 years on this issue. We don't need any panels. We don't need any oversight committees. We need the Supreme Court and the judicial system to come into the 21st century.
All right, so I want to thank everybody. It's about 94 degrees out. I'm sorry to do this. It was supposed to be a beautiful day, and 72 and perfect, and it's a little bit hot. We're going to have refreshments, drinks. We'll bring you into the clubhouse if you'd like, but we'll take care of you because I see some of you are in serious trouble sitting there. I do hope I can leave you with two things. Number one, this is a very important lawsuit. This is a big time, long awaited, very, very long awaited. The complexity of it, I guess, took a longer period of time, but other litigants also want to join in with us. And we have great confidence in the courts, and we're going to see what happens. And the other thing I just ask the mainstream media to go back and do on network news and everywhere else is please discuss the horrors of what's going on in
All right, there you have it. President Trump speaking live outside there in Bedminster, New Jersey. Breaking news, bringing a class action lawsuit there against big tech. Let's bring him back in.
Go out and just talk about the crime. Say 260 people were shot in Chicago. It's a number. It's a stat put out by the city over the weekend. There's no war that we lost that many and for a long time. And many people died, young people. And New York is a horror show. New York has the worst crime wave that they've had ever. And nothing's done about it except no bail. They let everybody out of prison. They just left almost 500 people out. They let them all out. They caused tremendous damage and harm and physical harm to other people and death. And they let them out. If the people don't hear this, you'll never be able to solve the problem. It's a problem like this country has never had. What's happened over the last 6 months in particular, and what's happening in certain cities, is a horrible thing. It's an embarrassment to our country. But more importantly, it's just a horrible thing.
Yo, check out, go to the Take On Big Tech website, takeonbigtech.com. That's where they said if you wanted to join the lawsuit.
You got to get your credibility back. You don't have the credibility. You have to get it back. I want to thank everybody very much, and we'll be seeing what happens. John.
Okay, hold on. Are you there? So yeah, that's the site here. If you want to join the lawsuit, let's play the video.
Really fantastic. I appreciate it very much. You've been so incredible. Thank you, and thank you to everyone.
Okay, so that's just the video from today. All right, guys. So I thought it was finally, we're taking action against big tech. I mean, it's about damn time. It only took 4 years, right? We gotta hope that this actually gains some traction and like I explained in the video yesterday, when they basically control all the money in the world, it's gonna be a difficult challenge to take on big tech. When Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Facebook are essentially the top 5 in the world's wealth, when they control the top 5, they're the largest companies in the world essentially. It's they've got the power to fight back. So this is going to be a interesting battle, and we'll see how it plays out. Thank you guys for joining the stream, and I know it was interrupted there a few times by YouTube. So they're obviously going to do their best to suppress the feed. That's why, like I was saying earlier, if you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit the like button, share the video on your social feeds so, this message gets out there, because if you don't share it, it won't. And they'll basically do everything they can to suppress it. So, once again, thank you guys for joining the show, and we'll see you later. Peace out.
And join the Discord.
Yeah, and join the Discord. Link is in the description.